Bonjour, Dale get you done, Digital Cause. Grandma's opinion. Today I'm going to wing it. I was thinking about when I saw what happened with Brexit in England, where they took a vote from, I think it was 48 to 52, to slow down Brexit and whatever. Well, commentaries about that is that, and it's happening in the United States too, where Congress, or the Parliament in their case, is trying to interfere with the people's vote. The people voted one way, they're trying to overturn that vote and get their own way. They're trying to take control. The government is trying to take control, the Congress or the Parliament, of the people's vote. The people voted. They voted for Brexit, and now their Parliament is heeing and hawing and trying to change that vote. Same in Congress. Everybody voted for Trump. The majority of citizens voted for Trump, and now they're ball baby Democrats are trying to turn that over. And I think they're just afraid, like Biden getting his son in to get thousands and $50,000 a month for doing nothing, just being a figurehead to stop the people from investigating. They thought that if they had the president's son, or vice presidents of the United States' sons sitting on their board, that the people in their government would be unlikely to investigate. So it was kind of like a blackmail. And I suspect that's why Congress is fighting so hard against Trump, because he's exposing all of this stuff. And I would say that those who are strongly against him there, including Rhino Republicans, are probably on the take, just like Biden was. And they don't want that apple cart overturned. And so it's the public that gets screwed in that deal. All the tax money that they're paying, these people are playing with. And then it's the public that has to pay, like during that banking scam when the big banks were too big to fail and the Obama administration bailed them out, and that was taxpayer money they bailed them out with. And that on top of that, they're already ripping off the public as it is. So the beat goes on, and they just want to cover their tracks so that they can keep ripping off the public. Well, I'm sorry, but the public ain't going for it anymore. This country was founded on the people taking control of the government and not being the lackey of the king or the queen anymore, and not being taxed to death by them. Once they saw how the Iroquois conducted their own government, they got the idea, we can govern ourselves. The people can govern. That's what's at stake right now. It's the idea of freedom. Now, they may have gotten that idea from the Native Indians, but they didn't get the whole idea. They didn't. It's just like the seeds. Our Indian culture produced 67% of the food the world knows today. So it was a vast garden. It was not a wilderness, helter-skelter wilderness like they try to pretend it was. It was a great garden. 67% of the world's food is almost 2/3 of the food the world is eating today was first cultivated by Native Indians. And you talk about getting your technology ripped off. Indian technology was ripped off, and now these people have taken those seeds and made them soulless. You're eating food that has no soul because they treat it like an assembly line, covering it with chemicals and poisons. They didn't get the whole part of planting, that it's a living being. These living beings, they have their own songs. They have their own spirit. And you have to honor that. You have to respect that. Just like we respect other human beings that have a soul, and we should honor all life. Not just human life, but all life, because it's all a reflection of the Great Spirit's body and should be treated as sacred. That's the part they don't get. They never got it. Same with their government. Yes, it can be governed by the people, but the people cannot have self-interest. Every decision made in council with Native Indians was qualified. How will this affect the unborn? How will this affect the future generations? If this decision today will cause harm in the future to the future generations, then we don't do it. Even if we have to pull our belt in right now, this generation, to ensure benefits on the next generation. If this decision today benefits the future generations, yes, that's what we want to do. So every question was qualified by that consideration. Every question. They didn't get that part. They don't have that part in Congress today. You got too many people with self-interest that are only thinking about themselves. Like Biden going over there and ripping off all this money from China and Ukraine because they can make money. Never mind that the taxpayers are going to have to carry the bill. Never mind that China was forced to take the deal on trade, because that way they were supposed to make up the money that they paid to Biden. Okay, but who in the end pays for it all? It's the taxpayers. So that's self-interest. That's what we call self-interest. You cannot have a true democracy when you have people in there making decisions that only benefit them. They don't have the idea of how will this protect society? How will this protect the public? How will this benefit future generations? How will this benefit the public? They don't qualify any of your decisions with that. And they didn't get that part. And then you look at the vote that was just taken in Brexit, 48 to 52. That's half the people that aren't going to be happy. That's not democracy. When you have an honest person who is making decisions from their heart to benefit future generations, they discuss every avenue of a situation from their heart with the idea that it has to benefit future generations. It has to be positive. It cannot be harmful. As an example, the Indians used to mine copper up in North Shore in Minnesota. They mined copper until they found out that it poisons your body, till they found out that it poisons the bloodstream. They quit mining it then. Profit is not the bottom line. The well-being and the health of the people is the bottom line, and the future generations. That's why they're having difficulty really benefiting the public and the future generations, because there's too many people in Congress that are there for themselves. How many of them came in as ordinary people and leave as millionaires and billionaires? You can, right there, you can tell who's who. And that's just to share a little bit of Native culture, juxtaposition, the culture that is imposed upon us here, and what we have to watch happen. Now, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Trump supporter because he's fighting for the people. He cares about the people. He's doing the best he can with who he is and what he's got. And he has a lot. He has a lot of know-how. And so this is why, in number 2, Native Indians made treaties with a sovereign United States government. And we don't want to see them toppled or overrun by globalism. And you look at socialism. What is socialism? The government takes complete control. Just like with the kings and queens, they had complete control. And then the people were taxed to death. We see that in Venezuela. Take their guns away, tax them to death. They don't care about the people. They're the wrong leaders. The wrong leaders. Those kind of people. They should not be in any leadership position, because they only think for themselves. They don't think for the people. Trump thinks for the people. And we're lucky to have him. We're lucky he stepped up at this time. A pivotal time right now. Important time. Now look what just happened in Mexico. the Mexicans picked up the son of El Chapo, the big drug dealer, the biggest drug dealer from down there. They have him locked up. They picked up his son. Then the drug cartels came out and they put up a big fight and they made him give the son back to the drug lords. They got their butt kicked. Now what does that mean? Huh? Does that mean we step in and help Mexico now? It better be. But then we look at how the CIA and the FBI has been weaponized against Trump. They're right in with the people on the take in Congress. The Democrats, the Rhino Republicans, they're on the take for themselves. They don't care about you. They're on the take for themselves. And it's the CIA that are making all the money with the drugs. They start running drugs in the 60s across the border. I was in college at that time. I remember when I grew up on the east side of St. Paul, there wasn't drugs anywhere. There were drugs nowhere. And then all of a sudden in college, I'd say in about 67, they start running drugs across the border because of youth protesting, youth wanting their parents to live up to all the ideals that they told them about. And when they found out about corruption, they became upset and they start rebelling. And I admit I was amongst them. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about government. I didn't know all of the mechanizations of how things worked like that. I was a young person in college. I didn't know any of that. And yet the government overreacted. The deep state, people are just starting to see it, but it's been there all along, overreacted, and they put drugs in every neighborhood overnight in every college neighborhood across the nation. Who had the power to do that? It sure wasn't an average little drug dealer, I can tell you that. And it appeared on the Vietnam battlefield at the same time. Timothy Leary, who worked for the government producing acid and all the drugs. The introductory drug was marijuana. Marijuana came in and flowed like water. Then it was all the other drugs followed in behind it. Now they got all these drug heads in this country, and you got a big homeless population. The public has their work cut out for them. They have to demand justice. They have to care about the future generations. They have to care about themselves. They have to care about the planet. They have to care about pollution. It has nothing to do with global warming. That global warming idea is ignorantly dense. The globe has been warming up ever since the glaciers pulled out of Minnesota and left 1 million lakes. It's been consistently warming up ever since then. For thousands and thousands of years, it's been consistently warming up. I remember photographs from the 30s where people had to tunnel out of their houses. We haven't had a snowfall like that in generations. But that's what our ancestors had to deal with in the 30s. And there weren't even any cars. You can't blame car exhausts and all this stuff. But the fact is, there is pollution. Our water is filthy. When the Pilgrims beached up here, you could drink from any stream without fear. Any stream. And now look at it. It's so filthy, you wouldn't dare. You wouldn't dare. So the very first simple thing is, you don't crap in water and then drink it. It's that simple. Even Nikola Tesla, who invented everything that they have today, Nikola in the year 1900 demonstrated before world scientists a robot that could think. They just caught up to that. He wrote papers. He wrote papers about how you don't throw anything in water. Water is the biggest carrier of disease that there is. And here we have a new disease. Every time you turn around, there's another disease. Well, when the Pilgrims beached up here, there were no diseases. No. diseases. Because our people kept our land clean. They knew that. They knew to do that. The way that you shove our people aside and act like we don't count, well, I'm going to tell you what. We're the ones that really count. Because you better listen to us before you completely obliterate us. Because we have knowledge. We can help you. Our people are generous. Our people have always been generous. And if you look around the world, the only countries that the white man was able to take over were countries where there were people like us. South Sea Islanders, Native Indians, Australian Aboriginals, people that were trusting, loving, kind, and generous. People who did not have a war culture. Those are the only people you were able to bamboozle and slaughter to your convenience. This is a shameful history. Because you kill the very thing that can help you make the next step in your evolution. And I feel sorry for that. And on another hand, I feel angry that our people were sacrificed. If you don't get your act together, you got to get your act together for your people. You got to get your act together for the planet. This is a beautiful green and blue planet. It's perfect. What are you going into outer space for? Looking for weird things out there. Travel into inner space. Inner space, that's another talk. We'll do another talk about inner space travel. Miigwech, thank you.